Hello, art family, and welcome to this awesome, outrageous art lesson. I like to call this one Colorful Crystals, and it combines two things that I absolutely love. Of course, color, one of the seven elements of art, and beautiful crystals. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited! So, thank you so much for joining me today for this lesson. I hope that you love it as much as I do. Our goals in this lesson are that we will be able to understand and use color theory. So that means the color wheel, primary colors, secondary colors, tertiary, and complementary colors. We also want to be able to use lines to draw a realistic looking crystal, so as realistic as we possibly can. And that means we're going to have to use our sense of observation, very close observing skills. And we want to be able to choose a color family to paint and add color to your crystal. So, do you think you can do that? I think so. So, before we start talking about color, let's talk a little bit about crystals. So, for centuries, crystals have been used by cultures throughout the world for healing and many other magical purposes. Each unique crystal, stone, and mineral has its own energy and chemical composition. Crystals are like gifts from the earth and are full of energy and magic. So, whether you believe in magic or not, there is actually science based on the energy that a crystal holds. So, here are some of the most popular crystals. So not only are they beautiful to look at, but a lot of these crystals have been known to help increase certain abilities, like the amethyst, which happens to be my birthstone, and the beautiful purple is actually known to help with wisdom, intuition, and balance. The rose quartz is known for love and healing. So that is another very popular crystal. Labradorite is a crystal known for psychic intuition. And then some of my other favorite ones are the opal and obsidian. And basically, I could go on and on. I have a goal to collect every single one of these crystals, and I've started quite a beautiful collection so far. So now that we understand a little bit about crystals, let's take a look at color. So this is the color wheel, which is basically what artists use to help them understand color relationships. So for instance, if you look at the color wheel, you can find the primary colors, the secondary colors, and you can see what colors look good together. So there is a little bit of debate about the primary colors, but basically red, yellow, and blue are known as the three primary colors. Some people say that they're actually yellow, cyan, and magenta, but like I said, red, yellow, and blue is just an easy way to remember those primary colors. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. So the secondary colors, there are three on the color wheel. When you mix two primary colors, you get you get a secondary color. So for instance, if you mix red and blue or magenta and cyan, you are supposed to get purple or violet, which is one of my favorite colors. What's your favorite color? It does say a lot about you and your personality, you know. The next type of color is called the tertiary colors. You can make a tertiary color by mixing a primary color, like blue, with a secondary color, like green. The tertiary color is called blue-green or turquoise. Tertiary colors are some of my favorite colors to use in my artwork. I hardly ever just use the plain color. I always mix something with that color. Complementary colors are found across from each other on the color wheel. and they work really well next to each other. So for instance, if you look at this red and green, this picture with the red crystal with the green background, those two colors complement each other and look really good together. But if you mix complementary colors, do you know what you get? Most of the time you get brown. So you just have to be careful if you are using watercolor paint. If you choose two complementary colors and they mix, you're gonna get brown. And I don't know if I would like to have a brown crystal. I don't have any brown. I have brown rocks, but not brown crystals. Okay, so now let's look at our materials that we're going to be using for this project. I am going to be using some thick paper that is in my sketchbook. It's not watercolor paper, but watercolor paper would work really well for this project if you're going to paint. It is thick so that I can add paint. So you do want to have a thick paper. I'm also going to use a ruler because when you're making straight lines, like which are found in some crystals, and then I'm going to be using watercolor paint for the first step and pencil. And then the last step, I'm going to be using Prismacolor pencils, and I have a whiteout pen to add some highlights at the end. All right, so let's look at step number 1. Here are some examples of some different types of crystals, and they all use a different color theme. I'm going to try to do that amazing green emerald. Oh, I cannot wait. So pick any color or crystal that speaks most to you. I've done them all. So I'll show you some of the ones that I have done. Let's look at here. So step 1 is going to be to draw the outline. So this is one of my favorite crystals that I drew. It's kind of a rainbow crystal. It reminds me a lot of this fluorite crystal. It has a little bit of every different color in it. So I didn't choose just like 2 colors. I tried to use as many as possible. So that one so far is kind of my favorite. I also did a rose quartz, which I feel turned out really nice as well. For this one, I did a tertiary color, kind of like the one in the example that has a little bit of purple and pink. And then, of course, I had to do my birthstone amethyst cluster. So instead of one crystal, I did a cluster of crystals, kind of grouped overlapping each other with a gold circle around it. So you can really do anything you want, but we're going to start with the basics. And that is step number 1 is to draw the outline. Now, I am actually going to tear out my paper, and I am going to turn my paper horizontally because, like I said, I want to draw the emerald, and I feel like the emerald, I can draw it really big and it'll fit a lot better if I have it turned horizontal instead of vertical. Now, so I'm going to draw the basic shape, and it's almost like a rectangle with like rounded corners. So I'm going to start with a straight line at the top, and I want the 2 lines to be parallel. And you probably can't see it because I'm drawing really, really light. You always want to draw light until you get it right, right? That's what I say. All right, so once you have drawn the basic outside shape, I'm not done yet. I still need to add some more. I need to add the sides now. So I'm going to erase the corners, get rid of those. Yes! Oh my goodness, it's starting to look like a gem. All right, so now I am going to try to look very closely. I actually have a reference photo that I'm looking at. That's light, light. And there's a dark one right here. That's dark. Okay, there we go. We got the basic shape. It looks like a box or a cube right now. It does not look like a green emerald, right? I know. So I like to start, you could use marker. I'm going to use paint because I do want to make a tertiary color green, and I want it to be that nice greenish yellow, tertiary greenish yellow. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to start getting my drawing wet with water. And this is called wet on wet. And basically it's going to help the colors blend together as I'm adding the paint. And I like to start light until I get it right. So I have lots of shades of green in this palette, but I'm going to start with the lighter one just because it is a little bit easier to make your painting darker if you need to, but it is harder to make it lighter if you start off really dark. And I just noticed another shape here, so I'm just adding that in. Okay, so you know what? I'm just gonna start with an overall light green. So you could totally switch to a bigger paintbrush, which I'm gonna try to find right now. Big paintbrush. Are you big? Yep, you're bigger. Okay, so I'm just taking that green, and like I said, this is why you have to have pretty thick paper for this, because if you're doing the wet on wet technique, your paper will start to tear if you have added a lot of water like I have. And the cool thing is, if you make it too dark or a part too dark, you can take a paper towel and actually wipe off some of the color. I thought that's like a really cool thing about watercolor paint. Okay, so now I have that basic light green. Now I'm going to switch back to my smaller paintbrush, and now I'm going to start looking. I like to kind of squint my eyes and try to find parts that are darker. Okay, now what you're going to want to do once you finish painting your whole crystal is you need to let it dry. So you might have to break this lesson up into 2 different steps, but I'm going to go ahead and let this dry and then come back right as soon as it's dry, and then we're going to add the colored pencil and the white highlighter. All right, see you in a minute. Okay, so now my green emerald is dry, and I am ready to start adding the colored pencil and marker and the whiteout pen, which is going to be the last step to like really make that crystal pop. You know what I'm saying? So here's my reference photo. I'm gonna just make it really big so I can zoom in and really focus on those dark. And I like to start with dark. I like going from dark to light. So I'm gonna find my dark green. I might have to get my big old box out. I am not, oh, there's a dark green. So I have a ton. I've just collected so many Prismacolor pencils over the years. And I just think that like the more that you have, the better. So this is how the final drawing turned out. I absolutely love it, just as much as the rainbow and the other ones that I did. So I hope that this video has inspired you to create your own amazing crystal drawing and maybe look into the power of owning and using crystals in your artwork and also your life. Thank you so much for watching and have an amazing day.